All right, so back at it. Gonna pick up where we left off and just keep blazing through this Obsidian tutorial. My goal for day one is just to figure out the basics. After that, tomorrow I'll start actually using it as a note-taking app, and by the end of the week, I'll give you my thoughts on how it works. So let's keep going.
And so I think it's the single best method for taking notes and actually making them functional. Because all this ability to capture some information, but that ability to do that is nothing without being able to use the information we've got. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is a note about Zilkasten. Zilkasten in German means slip box. It comes from this idea that you have these interconnected cards of notes and then you slip the cards into like a drawer. There was this sociologist called Nicholas Luhmann, and he's very, very sort of famous for using the Zilkasten method. He lived in the 20th century, and he had made 90,000 index cards in his Zilkasten. It's equivalent of Obsidian having 90,000 text files, and he credited his Zilkasten for giving him the ability to write very, very prolifically. He wrote more than 70 books and more than 400 articles. This is before like computers became a really big thing, right? So this is like actually an insane amount of work to copy. He linked each individual note using an index number, but you don't have to do that anymore because it's easier to do it like Obsidian. The Zilkasten is the smartest way to take notes, and let me explain the anatomy of the Zilkasten. The traditional Zilkasten has three types of notes. It has a fleeting note, it has a literature note, and then it has a permanent note. And the reason why different categories of notes is that it represents different levels of capture and installation. The fleeting note is a very raw note. It's just the first thing that comes to your mind. It's having like scratch pad on paper. It's just writing down the idea and using that scratch pad to think about the idea. In the case of what we've been discussing, I use the daily note as a fleeting note, to be honest. Then there's a literature note. A literature note is where you're doing some more proper research. I tend to use these for things like research or books or articles, stuff where I would traditionally study it and traditionally take a note. And usually the literature notes are pretty big. There's something that's going to make a literature note a lot more useful though, and it's that it should ideally be written in your own words. This is your very detailed thought and idea. It's stuff that you don't intend to memorize, but you should still make it meaningful to you. The things like with literature notes, the way that's phrased should be the way that you yourself would phrase it, because this is a note that you're going to refer back to. It doesn't make sense to just copy and paste stuff, except for the fact that it's quicker. But ideally, having some sort of way to process the note in your own words helps to make it an actual mental model in your head. And this is the most detailed version of the mental model. It's got high resolution and you can refer back to the pieces at any particular time. And finally, we come to the permanent note, the third part of the equation. The permanent note is the most distilled part of your Zilkasten. It summarizes a single idea in just a few sentences. When you're trying to think in a really effective way, you want to have this concept of everything, this concept of I understand the world in a simple way first. And then if you have those concepts, you can obviously go deeper into any individual concept that's your literature note. But at the very top, you should have just a few mental models that simplify things for you. If you're going to memorize anything from your Zilkasten, then it's this permanent note that's going to be the one that you want to memorize. Each permanent note itself is a link that can be referenced from other notes, and then you can reuse that from the past. So you got your fleeting notes, your literature notes, and your permanent notes. Now, let me tell you about what I've done differently, because I actually felt like I didn't really like the terminology that much. And this is where we start to dive into what I use in my system.
Okay, so let's just put that down. So most detailed.
So for the fleeting notes, my fleeting notes, I never create a separate fleeting note like this. Like I could, be like, oh yeah, think about birds or something, and then insert some birds, and here, this other fleeting note, and I'm like, birds are cool. I know. I really don't see a need to create a separate page for writing down some concept that I think I'm just going to chuck away anyway, right? So instead, if I know that I just need to archive the thought, I'm going to put that into my daily notes. So I don't have fleeting notes. I just have daily notes. I know I can reference the daily note at any particular point in time. I don't have any particular like attachment to the way that my daily note should be, because really I can just put anything there. It doesn't matter because the next day I'm going to get a brand new one. I want to put more content and stuff. My daily notes is my fleeting notes. So fleeting notes don't exist. So that's the top of my folders. Here I've got my literature topic notes. So that's probably pretty similar to the way that traditional Zilkasten is done. But I just want to be a bit more flexible with the idea of a literature note and topic note. So for example, I actually sync readwise with my notes, which means that whenever I highlight into my Kindle, it automatically syncs to my Obsidian, which is really cool because I can literally take paragraphs from books and use them in my own notes without even having to record those notes separately before I do it. I just literally need to have read it once and then it will come up in my notes as an auto syncing. Not only that, you can do it for books. I've done here, for example, paragraph alone. Here is a bunch of different paragraphs that automatically syncs. And that's something that you can do in other software, but it's just not as nice and super smooth. When I want to create some topics though, I still will do that. So remember how I said that I created one for Hayao Miyazaki, the studio Ghibli director, well that's there. Here I've created something about exponential, I've created something about the channel. I might try to include mathematical concepts. Like I was thinking about how variance relates to uncertainty when regards to data interpretation. And so that's some concepts I've got more beefed out right here, and some maths calculations I've just taken on the interface basically. So topics and literature notes can be literally anything, and these are probably my notes. I don't really think too much about what I put into a literature note, because really what I want to put in there is stuff that I myself want to reference at another point in time. The traditional literature note.
Whoops. That's really cool.
is that you're supposed to put in your own words, and then that's the thing that makes it useful. But who has time for that? The thing is, if I took every single concept I read and tried to summarize it in my own words, then although that particular time certainly creating something useful for myself, but I kind of feel like there's a lot of concepts that you just need to know that they vaguely exist. I'm happy enough for that. And then if I felt like I wanted to calculate the details of variance, for example, then I've got everything there that I need in order to figure out the concept when I actually need it. So that's a bit of a different way of thinking with literature notes. It's different when you're, for example, taking notes from books and stuff like that. I feel like that is a good time where you're actually summarizing, because otherwise it's like, well, what's the point of reading if I'm not making the knowledge I gain useful? So that's a bit of a different situation. But in a world where you're collecting information from different places, and you're like, I might use this at some point in time, but I'm not. I'm a bit more loose in my literature notes and what goes in them. They don't need to have a summary. Sometimes it's ideal they do, but they don't need to. I created an in-between category called practical notes. Practical notes, I don't use ones because I don't actually use Notion for most of it. But just for example's sake, if you want to do everything Obsidian, you might have notes on meetings, or people, projects, and then put that to Obsidian. For example, I put some notes about a tax return meeting that I had. And then finally, distilled notes. Now, distilled notes are cream of the crop when it comes to notes, right? They are the most distilled version of your thinking. And what I want to do is I'm going to show you one. I'm going to show you side by side comparison so I can show you why a distilled note is very useful. I've called it a distilled note as opposed to a permanent note because I hate the idea that a concept is permanent, because I feel like when you get more information, concepts don't change. So I renamed it to distilled note. And this is the Mr. Beast distilled note over here because I study Mr. Beast quite a lot as usual. For the sake of this, I'm going to make these a bit smaller, and then I'm also going to use the preview mode instead. So the literature note, you can see the difference in size by looking at the bars on the right hand side, right? The bars on the right hand side is really, not a lot there, but now distilled note was really huge here because this is almost the entire transcript of like a 1.5 to 2 hour podcast I did from Mr. Beast. What I've done here is when I'm taking notes from this particular podcast, I've tried to summarize the sentence as a link. You don't have to, that's just what I've done. The reason being that if I make it a link, then I can easily just copy and paste it to that particular bit. So for example, on content strategy, I know that speaks the translation, so I'm going to put that there. I'm kind of typing the same note twice, but this is really a much more brief summary of the idea. I want my literature note to capture everything that I can in case I need to look at the details about something, but I want the distill note to be the one that I read and be like, this is what I should do next, or this is the thing I should think about next. Because if you have this giant literature note, I mean, you could go back and read the full thing, but it's going to take you ages. Like, I don't have time to reread the entire 2 hour transcript of stuff with Mr. Beast. What's the stuff that I find most useful, or what's the concept that's going to most change my life? And that's what goes into the distill note. Let me give one example, right? So this is a whole paragraph. This is Mr. Beast talking about how it's better to use fewer but much higher quality videos because that's going to be something that appeals to algorithm better, and it's going to be something that appeals to YouTube's exponential nature, right? And here I've included literally the transcription. I hand type this down, and just everything he said about that particular concept. But this whole page of stuff has been condensed into that, because sometimes I just want to read, I should use fewer videos but more high quality videos. That's all I need to know. And yeah, and the distill note doesn't have to be that short. It just has to be significantly more actionable and a significant summary of the stuff that's actually useful to you. I think of the literature note as where you want to understand something in depth and when you want to grab some detail. I think of the distill note as the one that you use, which is like your practical toolkit. These are the notes that you use to think about the world, and the only notes that you need to remember about stuff. If I just had this distill note that existed, I would do just as well than if I had literature note. It's just that sometimes you might want to remember the context of how you came to a particular conclusion. That's the difference between literature and distill notes. Here, I didn't even use a daily note because I knew that I was going to take notes from the entire podcast when I did it, so I just made it straight into literature note and eventually summarized it into distill note. And that distill note is now linked back to, well, the original concept of YouTube, right? So I'm going to use literature notes, and I can see that in the part where he talks about YouTubers and successful YouTubers, I should actually put here. So I'm just going to put this still note, and then that note is now there permanently in my thing about YouTube. So if I ever want to conceptualize YouTube or summarize YouTube, it's right there for easy use. I can go back to it very quickly. That's how you can take this deluge of unstructured knowledge, or knowledge that comes from so many different sources, and actually make sense out of it in a way that you can organize, and actually take it to pieces and put it in a way that get this chaotic and crazy world and actually make sense of it in a way where you don't have to have made sense of it before you start to try to. I guess it's kind of polite, right? This may not be the perfect lesson. There may be ways that you can do it better, but this is the way that I do it, and this has served me extremely well in terms of being able to think about knowledge and everything. If I have questions that come up about YouTube, I'm never left thinking, I vaguely remember someone said something once about something. I can either go back to my YouTube document and then look at it immediately, or I can search it up really quickly, and even if it's just something I thought about once in my daily note, I can find it. Obsidian is obscenely powerful for that. Again, if you look at this graph, you can see that I can access any of these notes at any time. The thing is, if you have notes like this, then you have such a huge advantage when it comes to how you collect knowledge and organize knowledge that, people can come to you with essentially any question, and if you thought about it once in the past, then you'll be able to answer that question for them. So the fact that you decided to do this course is extraordinarily valuable, and you don't have to start with these big grand ideas. You can just start with a daily note. In fact, all you need to do really to start using Obsidian is to just write something into a daily note. You can just write one per day, it can be anything, just a thought that you had or whatever. When you have something like this, you start to think in ways that are really interesting and much deeper than what most people think about stuff. For example, I came across a lamp in the middle of the night, and I noticed just the light from the lamp actually reflected back onto the lamp itself. For me, it's such a random thing to think, so I was literally just coming back for a run. But I was like, I suppose that applies for many aspects of life. You start to think of these analogies, like, for concentration, for example, when you really help people at scale, perhaps on like proportionally enough scale and helpfulness that you create, there may be a proportion or badness that you create in the process as well. And the same as a particular life. So I might connect those two concepts together in Obsidian. The way that you link ideas and think about stuff in your own life is going to be dependent on your own context, your own ways of processing the world. Obsidian, I think, is just one of the greatest ways to do that. So I'm really excited for you. Look, you can do this, of course. There's a lot more I want to talk about and help you on my stuff. But really, if you just had these 2 sections, then that's more than enough to get started with Obsidian and get really, really powerful use out of it. So any video from this point, you're starting to really become a power user. And for the videos I follow, just take the bits and pieces that apply to your life or that you think might be useful, but none of the videos are necessarily compulsory. Now that you know how to link thoughts in Obsidian and also do as a custom, then you've already got something extremely powerful in your pocket. And so I'd like to congratulate.
So that's actually a really interesting philosophy as far as using all this information and kind of synthesizing it into something that's helpful. I'll definitely be giving this a try over the next week, and really trying my best to connect things, to start daily and then sort and then synthesize and really pull out the essence of what's important. So let me see. It's a lot on search, special formatting, data views, version control. Honestly, I think I have enough to get started. So now what I really want to do is give this a try. So let's just do it this way. So um So now I want to do Scrum. Okay. So let's get started on this. I saw something that was like, I think it was something like that. PSM. Let's try that. So okay. So let's do it this way. PSM. An interesting fact, tomorrow, actually, the PSM cert goes up in price. So I'm actually probably going to buy it later today since I know that I'm going to be taking it. And then we'll see how the rest of that goes. Um oh, I think I did that backwards in the last one up here. Okay. So let's get started on the Scrum stuff. Let's see. Checking it out again, only 2 weeks before the exam. Let's see. And I think this is going to be another note. Let me make sure I'm doing this right, but um oh, Scrum guide. So let's go ahead and open up the Scrum guide. That's weird that these are two different links. That's really spooky. Hold on. Okay, they both go to the same link. So not as bad, but oh my gosh, that was sus. So, I'm going to save this. And then I think I'm going to drop it in as a link if I can. So let's go into here. Oh, preview of another video. Um, let's see. So Scrum guide. So actually, I think what might be more helpful. Let's finish this article. So okay. I'll just call this study method. We're going to say read at least 3 times. Okay, so this is cool because I'm getting a ton of resources. They say there's courses on Udemy also. Um, and then this is important also. Yeah, of course, consider not. And that's maturity, right? To know, oh yeah, it's easy to pass a test, it's hard to do it in life. Um, but what he's saying is, so I'll show you. First 40 to 45 questions, he said, are really easy if you know about Scrum. Um, let's see, the problem with that is only, that's 2/3, so that's 60% to 70%, 75% almost. So that means just by knowing the basics, you'll almost pass, but you won't pass. Um, okay. This is the one that I was looking for. So let's do this article. And after this, I think I'll have a pretty solid. Um, okay. Let's see. Exam is not difficult. A few questions that give trouble. 2 to 3 weeks maximum. So I don't know what that is, so I'll check that out at a different time. So something to be aware of, if the interface is slow, it takes away time. Oh, whoops. That looks helpful. That's weird. That's cool. That's a self-contained link. So that's interesting. But I don't want it. So I'm just gonna say free quizzes. Certified Scrum Master or PSM1. Okay, whatever. Let's look at that real quick. Okay, so whatever. Same thing. Let's take these tips. And what do they call it here? Resources method. Whoa. Okay, so I think that gives me a good idea for where I'm going to start on all this. Um, which is I'm actually going to start with the Scrum because I'm a little familiar. Um, so I'm going to go to the Scrum open, which is the test. And I'm just going to take a pretest and see how I do. So okay, so let's go here. We'll take our notes and just put them on this side. And let's start. Okay, whatever. It's an open assessment. Value, valuable and useful increment of a working product. That sounds right. So you sprint to get move forward on something else. In the daily scrum. Sure. Normally all of the above. I think I know this one. From a PowerPoint that I read on Scrum a while ago. Not be able. When does the next sprint begin? After the conclusion, right? It's just constant sprints. It depends. I really want that to be the answer. That one just makes sense, right? You got to have organized. Project. Or would that be the Scrum? No, he's the product owner. I wish. How much work must for each product backlog item? How much work must the developers? What? Oh gosh. Definition of done, right? That sounds scrummy. Which two things do during the first sprint? It's got to be increment, right? Because you're not defining the whole thing. That would be dumb. This sounds, it sounds the most likely, but it sounds kind of dumb. But the other ones just sound obnoxious. I heard someone at work say we're supposed to demo if we're doing Scrum. Control. I don't know. I'll stick with this one just because the hammer test, right? Unless you're 100% certain you don't want to change a gut check. Managing the progress of work during a sprint. The most junior members. It's got to be Scrum Master, right? Developers? That could be any of them. I have no idea. Who has a final say on the order of the product backlog? I remember seeing this. I think it's developers, but it could be product owner. I know this one. Scrum Master, developers, product owner. The time box for daily Scrum is I remember reading that in a previous question. They talked about 15 minutes. Best describes Scrum. All right, let's see which one sounds the most like self-promoty. That one. It's the loosest. Like all the other ones. Predictive process that conforms. Oh. Um best practices. It's not, I don't know. That one feels right. Product backlog is ordered by, it's got to be this one. Management wants to change the terminology. All of the above, right? It's always all of the above. Not understand Scrum. High priority item identified during retro. That can't be true because what if there's no high priority? 3 pillars of empiricism. Which means I got that other question right because it asked what it was based on. Um, probably planning. Probably not respect for people, honestly. I don't know what Kaizen is, so I'm just gonna planning, demo, retro, but where's the doing? Inspection, it's got to be this one, right? Adaptation. Scrum has a role called project owner, right? I can actually check. This is kind of dumb. Product owner. Product owner. Ooh, could be this or this. Not backlog items. Ooh, could be any of these. I'm going to say this sounds the most dunny of all the done options. Boom. It's the most verbose. Consistency, right? Oh, consistency is actually an answer. Hold on. Product owner demands it. Rooms are hard to book. Teams work together on the same project. A separate product backlog. True. Because maybe they're focusing on different things. I don't know. Time box for a sprint review is it's not going to be longer. Boom, verbose. Hopefully that's right. Developer decision making. So this will be a good one to know in the future because it'll help me kind of filter out some of the other sus ones. High value features. By starting and ending. I feel like these ones are just better. We'll go with that. Because it's helping others versus just like doing your job. When taking account short-term reduction in productivity. That sounds ignorant. That sounds rigid. This sounds the most flexible, but it's going to be one of these. 7 occurs twice, so I'm going to say this one. Actually, no, because you could have 3, right? Whenever or during the daily scrum. So let's see, we take tickets whenever we're available. Yeah. Tell the CEO to shove it. Which one's the most similar to that? That'd be pretty metal. Be like, oh, we'll take care of it in a week. Can't be that. That one's out. Okay, 70%. Common sense gets you so far, right? Got 9 incorrect. Okay. So I'm actually, for myself, gonna take the ones that I got wrong. Hold on. Okay. I probably could have guessed that, right? Miracle. Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. Got the double. The juicy double. Which 2 things should the scrum team do? Oh, during the first sprint. That actually makes sense. Yeah, because none of that makes sense. Which statement best describes the sprint review? Yeah, I was between those two options, but that's good to know. The developers. That's actually interesting. So it seems like I really need to pay attention to the roles. Devs, product owner, scrum master. Yep. Daily scrum, 15 minutes. That sounds right. Product owner. That makes sense. Yeah. Of course, it's all the above. That's interesting. See, because like they're really trying not to be prescriptive. So a lot of like the musts and the inspection, transparency, adaptation. That's good. I'm sure that's going to be important. So I'll throw that into another note when I get it. Sprint retro is complete. Oh, I didn't say after the retro? That was dumb. This is actually a lot of good information. Time boxes, 15 minutes daily, 8 hours. And then there's one more right here, right? 4 hours. Monthly. There we go. Okay, so we got our time boxes. That'll be helpful. Okay. Cool. Yep. Nice. That was worth it on the hammer test. Wait, what? Selected for the sprint. Oh. And then here's what I'll do is kind of just do like a because I thought it was asking when you pull a about okay. Yeah, tell him to shove it, basically. So got 70%. Pay attention to rolls. Um Okay, cool. So we've got a lot of stuff already. What I'll probably start doing is in the next video, I'll be kind of synthesizing some of this into the Scrum Guide note that I have. And then we'll be going through the 2020 Scrum Guide US. And can I pull this? And no, I can't. So I can't open another window, but 15 pages is not that bad. I'll probably read it, synthesize my notes, and then take a test. And then we're going to start looking for holes in my notes. So if that sounds interesting and you want to see the 70 become 100, then subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.